Thank you for being in this space with me today. I wish I would be with you all in person, but given the circumstances of life, this is the best way that we can connect. But I'm hoping that we can all collectively heal together through our conversations today. I know it's a very difficult moment for all of us. There has been a lot of changes, a lot of loss, a lot of injustice, and our communities are grieving. The recent events have shaken our world. And of course, today we come together because we accept these as truth and accept that the basic humanity of Black, Indigenous, and racialized people are violated every day. So, many of us are challenged to make sense of this loss and this grief while trying to navigate this pandemic, which has impacted our lives already. So, our communities have been pushed to move differently, to learn differently, and to connect differently. And this is coming out of nowhere, and most of us have never experienced anything like this. So, we're trying to understand, what is normal? What is going to happen? What is our future going to look like? And as humans, we don't like not knowing. We want to know. We want to be in control. And our life has changed so fast, and this change is something that, we didn't ask for. So, we're going to be experiencing a lot of different emotions and feelings. And this changes by hour, by day. And this is just our body and our brain saying, wait a minute. We don't like this change. We never asked for this change. We want to go back to normal. So it's important to recognize that anywhere that we go in this world today, if we get on a plane and fly across the country, communities are facing challenges. Communities everywhere are learning to think and do differently, while holding their anger, their pain, and their frustrations. And it's hard. So, our communities continue to be challenged more than most. And right now we are currently in a relationship between life-changing and loss. And yes, for the single people, you are not single. You are in a dramatic relationship with life. And those who are in relationships, guess what? You're in a second relationship with life as well. And as much as we want to break up with life, it doesn't want to break up with us. So yes, it's a clingy relationship and it demands our attention. So, it's okay if, you're working through this change right now. It's okay that you're unsure or you're upset. It's okay to be angry and to be worried. These things are natural. And, we've been challenged by this virus to rethink and rebrand ourselves differently and stand up to the things that we no longer will accept as normal. So, when I hear things like, we'll never go back to normal. Well, you know what? We don't want to go back to normal because normal that we had did not support our communities the way that we needed it. So we want to move forward from here. And, this pandemic will someday become a thing of the past and, we will return back to our normal lives, but normal doesn't have to mean the same. Normal can be a world full of abundance. Normal can be all communities thriving, but it is up to us to decide how we create the new normal. But it's, during times like this that I'm, reminded of the tremendous legacy of those who came before us, our ancestors and many of us who've been tested in our lives. But, in the end, we have all stood strong, recovered, and, we're still here. And I know we keep hearing about all the bad news in the world, but, there is good news, even though there's a lot of things that have been canceled or put on pause, community isn't canceled. It's very important time in our lives that we lean on each other, that we support each other. And, this is the moment where we need it the most. And I know a lot of us have been struggling before the virus, before this pandemic, and we might be struggling more, because of our living conditions, because of our history of trauma, and facing limited resources. This virus is not fair. It doesn't play fair. It doesn't look at certain communities and say, I'm going to leave you alone because you face more inequalities. So most of the time, it's our communities that are most impacted than the average person. But knowing this information and being aware that, my community will have to work a little bit harder. My community will have to speak a little bit louder. My community will have to reach out more. But, this is good because it prepares us, because guess what? It's our communities that are the most resilient and the strongest because we have faced struggles. We have been through hard times and we've dealt with challenges. And here we are in this space today. So we're not going to play fair either. I know this pandemic makes it seem like we don't have power, but we do, even in the face of something that makes us feel so small. We have the power to stay connected, to build community, to heal together and, to get through this. And, we're seeing that right now, people coming together across the world, especially with the recent events, and demanding justice. This virus wants to hold us apart. It wants to separate us. And 2020 has been a very interesting year for all of us, but it showed us one thing that I think we all can agree on is, the power of community. And as humans, we need community. We are people of community. The feeling of belonging is like an essential vitamin that our body needs to survive. And I'm not just saying this for fun. This is science. Science shows us that our brains need social connection, needs to feel like we belong, just like we need air and water to survive. So it feeds that part of our brain that feels happiness and joy and all those good feelings. And the more we feed it, the healthier we are. So, for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. And even though we can't see this virus, we can see each other. And even though we can't be close physically yet, we need to stay close emotionally. So, we have to use our voice. I can't stress this enough. We can't always leave it to the experts. The experts will think like experts, and the experts will create expert solutions for our communities. But we are the experts for our communities. So, we know what our communities need, and we need to be at that table working alongside with the service providers. So, it's about how do we figure this out together? Our voices really matter here. And for so long, we have participated in this process of invisibility, the idea that our voices don't matter, the idea that we don't matter. But, it involves us taking action to protect our own health, our families, and most of all, the health of our communities. It's important to remember that, this moment in life will pass. I promise you it will pass. And what we will remember will not only be the challenges, but how we came together as a community. This moment will define us in how we responded between now and then. And if I could offer a positive side to the challenges and the hardship that we are facing currently, is that, the change in life has allowed for an opportunity to reset things. And what we will be proud of one day is how well we did that and how well we learned from this experience. So I know there's a lot of fear in the world right now, and there's also a lot of opportunity to thrive, to slow down in ways that can enhance our well-being. So, how do we do that? There's many times we hear self-care and the importance of self-care. And I know it's easier said than done, and sometimes self-care can be a privilege. So I kind of like to reframe it as soul care or community care, and really connect to the moments where we can really nurture ourselves. Humans are like plants. Just like plants, we need sun and water and nutrients to thrive. And, we need the same. And especially in the last week, we've been bombarded with violent videos that are painful to watch, especially when we carry our own trauma from systemic racism or experiences that remind us of this pandemic. And sometimes, our first instinct is to jump and take care of our community. But it's important to know that in order for us to care for our communities, we have to take care of ourselves first. So it's about putting our oxygen mask on first before we put our community's oxygen mask on. So when we're able to care for ourselves, we are stronger, we are more resilient, and we're able to care for others, which is exactly what we need right now. So hopefully I'm going to share a couple of tips to kind of navigate our strengths during this moment, during this time. So first and foremost, when all fails, always go back to the basics. Don't forget about your basic needs. Make sure you're listening to your body, eating, drinking water, washing your hands, and keeping as much of a normal sleep schedule as you can. And remember, with anxiety, it wants control. So it's about, taking control back and focusing on the things that we can control. Another thing we could do is nurture your spirituality, whatever that looks like to you, whether that's to a higher power, nature, energy, the universe, whatever, what gives you strength. It's about grounding ourselves with hope, because hope is survival. It is the sun we see that hides behind that dark and rainy, cloudy sky. That sun becomes a representation of hope, of knowing that brighter days are to come soon. Another thing we could do is, move in any way that we can. We need to get out of our heads. We've been in our heads for the last, couple of months, and moving helps release release the stress from our bodies. Especially with social media, with each scroll, we are collecting trauma points. Our bodies are absorbing that, and we never get to process social media trauma. So, find ways to move, whether it's dancing or walking or even getting up and kind of shaking it out. It does wonders to the body. Or try muscle relaxation, tense up your muscles, hold them for like 5 seconds and then release. This is equivalent to a workout for your brain. The same hormones are released as if your body did a 30-minute workout. Name and claim your worries. We wouldn't be human if we weren't experiencing anxiety and feeling worried and stressed. Expect to have different emotions. It is a healthy reaction to what is happening. And sometimes we think, pushing those bad feelings away will make them go away. Well, it's not. It's actually going to make them stronger. It's like a muscle. The more you work it out, it's going to get stronger. Same thing with our anxiety. So, practice allowing yourself to feel them. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel this way right now. And I promise you, you will survive every minute of it. And the intensity that you feel in that moment will never feel intense the next time you sit with it. And, sometimes I think I'm going crazy. And my response to this is, no, you're not going crazy. You're responding to things that are crazy. And that's a huge difference. So, try to keep your worries and your fears not bottled up. Talk to them about to people that you trust. Reach out to your local community center who can support and connect you to other resources. Because we were never meant to do this alone. Thank you.